What if the United States found itself in a two-front war against its two greatest geopolitical rivals, China and Russia? How would the American military respond, allocate its forces, and ultimately secure victory? Let's break it down. The key to understanding how the U.S. would prevail lies in strategy and force distribution. Fighting on two fronts requires prioritization, logistics, and advanced military coordination. The U.S. would leverage its global military presence, advanced technology, and alliances to maintain superiority in both theaters of war. Naval superiority, Pacific and Atlantic strategy. One of the most significant pillars of American military power is its overwhelming naval dominance. The United States Navy is the largest and most technologically advanced naval force in the world, and in a two-front war scenario, its role would be absolutely critical. Pacific theater, confronting China. In the Pacific, the primary adversary would be China's People's Liberation Army Navy, PLAN, which has grown rapidly over the past decade. However, quantity does not equal quality. The U.S. Navy's 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, each with its own Carrier Strike Group (CSG), provide unmatched force projection capabilities. These floating fortresses are supported by advanced Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, Virginia-class submarines, and long-range missile systems such as Tomahawk cruise missiles and Standard missile interceptors. The South China Sea would become a key battleground. China's artificial islands, militarized reefs, and anti-access area denial, A2/AD strategies, aim to keep U.S. forces at bay. But the U.S. strategy would involve sea control and dominance, using integrated air and naval assets to dismantle Chinese naval infrastructure and enforce maritime freedom. Atlantic and Arctic front, containing Russia. While the Pacific draws much attention, the Atlantic and Arctic regions would be equally vital. Here the focus would shift toward countering Russian naval activity, particularly from its northern fleet based in the Arctic Circle. The U.S. Navy, in coordination with NATO allies, would form a robust perimeter to prevent Russian submarines or surface ships from threatening the transatlantic supply chain or staging assaults on Western Europe. Virginia-class attack submarines would silently patrol key choke points such as the Guyuk Gap, Greenland, Iceland, UK, targeting enemy submarines and disrupting logistics. Aegis-equipped destroyers would bolster air defense and anti-submarine warfare across the North Atlantic. Air dominance, USAF versus Polish Air Force and Russian aerospace forces. In any modern war, air superiority is often the first goal, and the United States Air Force is built for this. With the F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lightning II, the U.S. has two fifth-generation fighters that outmatch anything in the Chinese or Russian arsenals. Technological superiority in the skies. The F-22, with its stealth, super cruise, and unmatched maneuverability, is the ultimate air dominance fighter. The F-35, a multi-role stealth platform, integrates advanced sensors, radar jamming, and data sharing, allowing American pilots to see first, shoot first. In comparison, China's J-20 Mighty Dragon and Russia's Su-57 Felon are still plagued with limitations in engine technology, avionics, and production capacity. Furthermore, both the People's Liberation Army Air Force, PLARF, and Russian aerospace forces suffer from limited real-world combat experience and strained logistical frameworks. Force deployment, the global advantage. One of America's greatest strengths lies in its global military infrastructure. With over 750 military bases in more than 80 countries, the United States can rapidly deploy troops, equipment, and aircraft to any hotspot on Earth. Pacific theater, Indo-PACOM strategy. The Indo-Pacific Command, Indo-PACOM, would lead the charge in the Pacific, leveraging U.S. bases in Japan, South Korea, Guam, Hawaii, and strategic access agreements with Australia and Philippines. These bases form a layered defense network capable of supporting air, naval, and amphibious operations, enabling rapid response to any Chinese aggression in the Taiwan Strait or the broader Indo-Pacific. European theater, EU, COM, and NATO integration. Simultaneously, the U.S.-European Command, EUCOM, would integrate seamlessly with NATO forces to contain Russian military actions. With tens of thousands of American troops already stationed in Germany, Poland, Italy, and Baltic states, the United States would have immediate boots on the ground to deter and, if necessary, defeat Russian incursions into Eastern Europe. Logistics and supply chains, the hidden power. Wars are not won only with weapons, but with supply chains. The U.S. military's logistical superiority is an often underappreciated factor that gives it a decisive edge. American forces can move vast quantities of troops, fuel, ammunition, and supplies across continents, thanks to assets like the C-17 Globemaster III, C-130 Hercules, and KC-46 Pegasus refueling tankers. China and Russia, in contrast, lack comparable global logistics infrastructure. Their militaries are largely designed for regional conflicts, not global warfare. If drawn into a prolonged two-front war, their ability to maintain supply lines and resupply distant battlefields would degrade rapidly. Land warfare and combat readiness. On the ground, U.S. Army and Marine Corps rapid deployment strategy. In the face of rising global threats, the U.S. Army and Marine Corps have refined their rapid deployment doctrines to emphasize speed, mobility, and lethal precision. These strategies center around joint operations, where land, air, sea, and cyber forces operate in a synchronized fashion to overwhelm adversaries before they can consolidate power. Units are trained to deploy on short notice, often within 96 hours, with pre-arranged logistics and intelligence frameworks already in place. Airborne and mechanized infantry units, supported by close air support, drones, and satellite-guided munitions, give the U.S. unmatched flexibility in executing both defensive and offensive operations worldwide. Europe, deterring Russia with pre-positioned power. In Europe, the U.S. military has adopted a forward-leaning posture to deter Russian aggression, particularly in Eastern Europe and the Baltics. M1A2 Abrams tanks, M2 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, and high-mobility artillery rocket systems can be activated and mobilized in under 72 hours. These capabilities are further enhanced by NATO's Enhanced Forward Presence, EFP, which includes multinational battalions stationed in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. Together, this coalition force provides a powerful deterrent capable of rapidly responding to any Russian incursion or hybrid warfare tactics. In essence, the U.S. and its allies aim to deny Russia the ability to achieve a quick, decisive victory, raising the cost of aggression dramatically. Final analysis: the technological edge. Ultimately, the greatest advantage the United States holds is its technological supremacy. From cyber operations to AI-driven combat systems, the U.S. military is spearheading the next generation of warfare. Key technological dominance areas. Cyber warfare. U.S. Cyber Command can launch offensive operations to disrupt enemy communications, infrastructure, and command systems. Space-based intelligence. Satellites provide real-time tracking of enemy forces and missile launches. Unmanned systems. Drones like the MQ-9 Reaper and XQ-58 Valkyrie can conduct surveillance, strike missions, and electronic warfare. AI and networked warfare. Data-driven decision-making, predictive targeting, and sensor fusion enable faster, smarter combat operations. Reinforcing American superiority. A two-front war against China and Russia would push the United States to its strategic limits, but not beyond them. Thanks to naval dominance in two oceans, air superiority across continents, unrivaled global logistics, and a powerful technological advantage, the United States would maintain a strong upper hand. Victory in the 21st century isn't determined just by numbers of tanks or jets. It's about coordination, global reach, resilience, and smart warfare. And in every one of these domains, the U.S. remains unmatched. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth analysis on global conflicts and military strategy. See you in the next video.